listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the most listened to daily Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet.
Miami's got the Dolphins, the greatest of all.
Come on, Dolphins fans. Time to fins up.
We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl. Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one.
Good evening, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you tonight? And thank you for listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast on this Thursday, September 5th, the official opening night of the NFL season. I'm your host, Michael Leva, joined by Big E, Ian Berger. Ian, how you doing tonight?
Mike, we have been waiting 8 months for this season to begin. And yeah, our Dolphins aren't playing tonight, but it is NFL football that counts. For anyone who's got their fantasy football lineups all set, you know they're looking to see if they've got players or if the person they're playing against has players. I'm excited, man. This is our holiday season. We look forward to this time of the year for 8 months, and I can't tell you how excited I am. So thanks for putting the show up together tonight. And I know it's going to be kind of short. It's not going to be our normal hour,
yeah.
Right?
No, not even close.
We're going to talk about, I think, a Dolphins versus Jaguars game in 3 days, man. That's awesome.
3 days. Yeah, we got NFL football Thursday night tonight, obviously. Looks like a monsoon or a lightning storm going on out there right now. Then Friday night, you got the game on Peacock with the Packers and the Eagles. We got that Friday. But since Wednesday night, we did our roundtable show. Ian and myself didn't have time to do our official preview and prediction for the week 1 game. So that's all this show is going to be, probably 10 to 15 minutes. We're just doing the preview and prediction here tonight. But before we get to that, as always, tonight's show is brought to you by Caneswear. Caneswear is the place to go for officially licensed apparel for the Miami Dolphins, the Heat, the Hurricanes, Florida Panthers, and all of the professional college teams in South Florida. Looking for the latest jersey, a gift, or the newest hat to hit the market of your favorite South Florida team? Check out Caneswear.com for their overwhelming selection of sports apparel. Located 2655 South University Drive in Davie, Florida, Caneswear has it all. If you don't live in South Florida, don't worry. Visit Caneswear.com to shop the inventory from the comfort of your own home. And yes, they ship internationally as well. Caneswear.com is the spot that Miami fans shop. That's Caneswear.com. Caneswear.com. So, Miami versus Jacksonville, week 1, the Battle of Florida here. Jacksonville last year, Ian, was 9-8, second place in the AFC South, only by a game. So they were close to making the playoffs, close to winning the South. Again, it would have been the second year in a row. One thing I saw with Jacksonville last year, they were 5-3 on the road last year. They're a solid road team. They, some teams, when they get away from home, they kind of struggle. Jacksonville 5-3 is a solid road record. 2 seasons ago, they did win a playoff game. They have a head coach who won a Super Bowl. Now, much like Miami, their offensive line is poor. They were the 3rd worst offensive line last year, but they did bring in the center from the Bills and Mitch Morris, and they brought in one of the guards, Sheriff. So they've tried to upgrade their offensive line. We'll see if they did that any. Their pass rush is a little dangerous. They got some guys there, and Josh Hines Allen. Now we call him Josh Hines Allen. They got Eric Armstead and the other kid there, Walker. What's his first name? Trayvon Walker. So they got some guys who can get after the quarterback there. They're kind of like Miami in that borderline playoff team. Kind of, we might win the division. We could be a wild card team. The team, is it a great team? No, but it's a good team. This is a solid team. This isn't no pushover for the Dolphins in week 1.
Yeah, it's interesting because I look at this game similarly to the way we looked at the first game of last season against the Chargers. Yep. Because I think that there's questions again at offensive line, which we had questions at offensive line. If I remember correctly, too, we were without Jaylen Ramsey in that first game against the Chargers.
And Armstead.
That's right. And Armstead. So, there are definitely some challenges. But what we did see at the beginning of last year is that this offense was explosive, either it being the wide receivers, the running back, Tua making plays. It was impressive to see. And it was a shootout. And I know there have been some people who've said they're expecting this opening game to be a shootout because there's really no tape to look at. Although, again, on the Dolphins side, you know what you're going to get. There's going to be some, pre-snap motion that's going to confuse the heck out of the defense. There's going to be speed on the field that no other team has in the National Football League. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. The biggest question is going to be, can the defense for the Miami Dolphins stop the Jacksonville Jaguars? Are they going to be able to walk up and down the field the entire day through the run game? By the way, Travis Etienne, he's a pretty solid runner. So there's a lot of questions, and we will find out the answers to those questions at 1:00 on Sunday.
Yeah, 100%. Jacksonville, if you look at their skill positions, and as of today, at the time we are recording this, it appears Ramsey's not going to play. We don't know for certain, but all signs are indicating he's not going to play. He hasn't practiced all week. They asked Anthony Weaver today, and he goes, "I'm praying." Anytime you have an assistant coach saying "I'm praying," probably not a good sign. So I'm going under the assumption Ramsey, they're probably trying to save him for week 2 at this point, and because with a short turnaround, they probably don't want to push him. So I'm going under the assumption he's not going to play, which means the Jacksonville wide receivers, which are not awful, Christian Kirk, Brian Thomas Jr., the first-round pick, and someone who's killed the Dolphins in the past, Gabe Davis from the Bills, going up against Kendall Fuller, who gave up 9 touchdowns last year, going up against, Storm Duck and Ethan Bonner, that might be a little bit of an edge there for Jacksonville. And then at tight end, even
Evan Ingram, don't forget about him. So
that's why I think this game's a shootout like you, or like you said, some people think. I'm one of those people. I think this game's going to be a wild shootout, which makes it a fun game to watch. It makes it fun when you win, but it makes it a fun game to watch. But yeah, I think it's going to be a shootout for that reason alone, especially if Ramsey doesn't play, which I think right now is probably a safe bet, but we're all hoping he can go. Looking at the 2023 rankings, which is a little tricky because there's been so much turnover for both teams, but I'll just go through them real quick just to get a feel of how things ended last year. Total offense, Jacksonville was 13th, Miami was 1st. Passing offense, Jacksonville 9th, Miami 1st. Rushing offense, Jacksonville 24th, because you got the third worst offensive line. That doesn't help. Miami 6th, because Miami's offensive line isn't great, but they can run block. They just can't pass block. So Miami's going to be able to run the ball. They just can't. They have their issues being a pass blocker. Scoring offense, Jacksonville's 14th. Miami was 2nd. On the other side of the ball, total defense, Jacksonville 22nd, Miami 10th. Pass defense, Jacksonville 26th, Miami 15th. And I would throw all these numbers out for Miami because they got so many players gone in a whole new system. They literally mean nothing. Rushing defense, Jacksonville 9th, Miami 7th. And scoring defense, Jacksonville 17th, Miami 22nd. Actually, throw those numbers out too for Jacksonville because they have a new defensive coordinator as well, I believe. So that's kind of the numbers from last year. Again, I wouldn't put much into them right now because there's been so much turnover with players and talent and all that stuff. But Jacksonville, 9th best passed offense last year, 1st from Miami. Total offense last year, Jacksonville 13th. Again, they got weapons. Trevor Lawrence, has he lived up to the hype everyone thought he would being picked 1st overall? No, but he's not bad either. So, I know in this world we live in of hot takes and all these shows with the talking heads, you're either great or you suck and there's no in between. I actually think with these two quarterbacks, with our quarterback in Miami and with Lawrence, there's the in-between. And it's okay to be in the in-between. You don't need to be a top 5 guy or else you suck. No, they're in between. They're younger guys who improve year over year, and I think they're both good. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. But overall, this should be a fun game.
I'm looking forward to it. And I actually know a couple of the fans of the year for Jacksonville Jaguars that are coming down for that game. So we're definitely going to have our little friendly rivalry going. But really, the rivalry between the Dolphins and the Jaguars is minimal, except for the fact, obviously, Dan Marino played his last game against Jacksonville. Yeah. Outside of that, there's not a lot of hatred between the two organizations. So may the better team win, and hopefully it's the Miami Dolphins. I think
the last time we played, I don't know if you remember, last time we played, that game was in London, which Miami had the game won and they blew it. That London game, which we blew. So it's been a few years since we played them. That was still the Brian Flores era. And also, real quick, if you're in the Jacksonville area or if you're in Northern Florida, I recorded a segment today for Fox Sports Radio, Jacksonville, 9:30 a.m., which is going to air on their pregame show on Sunday morning. So if you're in that Northern Florida area who listens to Fox Sports Radio Jacksonville, tune into their radio pregame show. You will hear me Yes, me talking about
Look
the
at
Miami
you.
Dolphins versus Jacksonville.
Look at
Hey,
you, Mike.
You know,
that's awesome.
This podcast gets lots of attention. I get asked for a lot of things. Sometimes I can't say yes to everything today. It happened to work in the schedule, so I could say yes. And yeah, it's always fun to do that type of stuff. But let's get, Ian, it's time for the prediction. And you know what that means. We got to play the graphic.
It's now time for Mike and Ian's Fearless Predictions.
All right. Jacksonville at Miami, 1 p.m. on CBS. Kevin Harlan and Trent Green on the call. Jacksonville, Florida. Jacksonville is weird by Florida standards. The most successful local industry in Jacksonville is selling meth. You know, Jacksonville's a shitty city when the most famous band to come out of Jacksonville is Leonard Skinner, and their most famous song is not about Jacksonville. It's Sweet Home Alabama. Nobody wants to claim Jacksonville as their home, even Leonard Skinner. Jacksonville smells like rat piss and 3-day-old spoiled milk. And then there's the Jaguars themselves. Ian, I don't know how much you know about the Jaguars ownership. It's owned by Shad Khan, one of the richest people on planet Earth. And he has a son who runs their analytics, so they say, Tony Khan. And for those of you watching on YouTube, this is more visual. This is Tony Khan. This man right here is Tony Khan. He also owns a professional wrestling minor league organization.
AEW.
Yeah, AEW. Yeah, this is, and you know, this is the guy who showed up at the NFL draft, you know, quote unquote injured, wearing a neck brace, smiling ear to ear, thinking, you know, oh, this is cute and funny. Mind you, he's wearing a neck brace, but he's got his head turned like there's nothing wrong. He didn't really sell the injury, as they say in the business. And, you know, just some other highlights. Here's Tony. You know, he's a weird dude. He likes to hug some of his pro wrestlers when he gets excited. Watch this. I mean, the guy's 5'0". He looks like an 8-year-old kid hugging Santa. And then anytime he cuts a promo.
Tell you right now, Kenny, 9 days from tonight, you got time to get ready, man. 9 days from tonight, you have to wrestle in 9 days from tonight. On Dynamite, live on Dynamite. Live on Dynamite, you have to wrestle in here.
Look. We can't lose.
What the hell did I just watch?
We cannot lose to this fucking goof. That's all I'm saying right now. Dolphins fans, we cannot lose to this goofball this weekend when we play Jacksonville. You know, that's the owner. Then there's Trevor Lawrence, who looks like a homely high school cheerleader who can't get a date for prom. Trevor Lawrence's face has a dad bod. Trevor's so ugly, the tears run down the back of his head to avoid his face. Then we got the Jacksonville Jaguars head coach Doug Peterson, who looks like he won the short bus science fair. Peterson reminds me of someone who probably eats cake as he sits on the toilet. He has a personality of a dead moth. So that's Jacksonville. But to this week's game, I see this game very much like Miami's week 1 game last year versus the Chargers. Like you said, Ian, going to be a back-and-forth shootout. Tua and Tyreek will do Tua and Tyreek things. I think the Dolphins are going to struggle a little bit on defense this week, especially if Ramsey's out there. Even if he plays and he's less than 100%, I could see them struggling. Trevor Lawrence has got that big arm. He's got those fast wide receivers. They're going to test Kendall Fuller, Ethan Bonner, Storm Duck, Kader Kohu. I see that. I could see them going for the home run ball a lot and some long touchdown passes. But this game is going to come down to one thing: red zone efficiency and not selling for field goals. I think Miami makes a few more plays in the red zone. Give me Miami 31, Jacksonville 28. I forgot the hat. It's week 1. Miami wins.
I love it, man. I love it, Mike. And yeah, this is kind of like our test week, right? So next week you're gonna have to make sure you have your hat.
I'll have it ready. Trust me, it's the
Bills.
Bills.
About the Bills. I know. So, you know, my big thing last year, and I wanted to continue it this year, is I really frustrate the heck out of my family, because every week during the NFL season, I change the Wi-Fi password. However, I put it on this board, this chalkboard, so that way they know what it is. If they get kicked out, they're not able to get to what they need to get to. But this week, I chose Cheetah over Jaguar. Cheetah is faster than the Jaguar. And I have to agree with you, Mike, that I believe the Miami Dolphins will be victorious over the Jacksonville Jaguars. And a couple reasons for that prediction. Number one, it's our home field. It's a home opener. There's a lot of excitement. A lot of Dolphins fans are going to be there. It's exciting. Secondly, our offense is the most explosive offense in the National Football League. I don't think the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're preparing, right? Doug Peterson even talked about it at his press conference. These guys are fast, they're faster, and they're fastest. You could talk about it all day long, but until you see it on the field and you start getting burned a couple of times, you start scratching your head. And I think the Dolphins are going to outplay the Jaguars on offense. Defense, a lot of questions, but the goal at the end of the game is that the Dolphins should have more points than the Jaguars, and I anticipate that they will. I'm calling it a score of 34-27. Dolphins over the Jaguars, because I think the Jaguars will get their points. We don't know what to expect with this defense right now for the Miami Dolphins, but I think the offense, we do know what to expect, and that's going to be a lot of points.
I agree, and that's how Miami's going to win their games. Look, Miami's not going to run you over. They're not going to win with defense and special teams. We know why. They're going to win with offense, speed, and just overwhelming you with what they do on offense. And as they said in the famous movie Rudy, nobody, and I mean nobody, comes into our house and pushes us around. Unless you're the Buffalo Bills, then you do. But that's okay. We'll talk about them next week. Rudy. That's right. So that's the prediction. We both take Miami here to win. I've got, like I said on the roundtable last night, I know I'm a phony. There's been other shows where I have predicted Jacksonville because I've gone back and forth in this game. But as the week's gone on, as the politicians say, my opinion has evolved. And this is where I am at this point later. That's right. Okay. That's where I am late in the week. This is the one that counts. And I'm going with Miami over Jacksonville. Everyone have a blast. If you're going to the game, if you're watching at home, I'm probably doing a watch along. So check that out Sunday on YouTube. You can join us there. But everyone, thank you for watching. Be sure to follow us. Follow Ian on Twitter at Ian693. Be sure to follow myself on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and pretty much everything except Truth Social at this point at Dolphins Talk. Check out the website, DolphinsTalk.com. And enjoy the game this week. And folks, please don't forget, we must put an end to highway profanity.
Fins up, everybody. Football is back. Let's go.